What's up, y'all? This is This Developing Story. This is actually a recorded podcast I did with Will Johnson. Will Johnson's from Egghead. You'll learn more about him in a sec. If you're interested in joining me on my podcast, hit me up in a Twitter DM. Also, check out the Discord. I'm more than happy to have more guests talking about their intro to programming, as well as your intro to whatever you're working on. And I think after all these months of streaming, I finally have figured it out. So I will start having more guests on the podcast as well as on the stream. While you're at it, head over to subscribe.bw live and you'll get a bi-weekly newsletter on every time I do a podcast, a meetup, a future conference talk. It's all in my newsletter, so definitely check that out. All right.
All right, cool. Yeah. My name is Will Johnson. I am a self-taught developer from Kansas City, Missouri. Started teaching myself web development, like HTML, CSS, and JavaScript starting like 2018. Knew that it was going to be hard to get into the industry, so I use social media and like networking as a way to get a job. So I landed a job at Egghead.io, which is a web development education company, and I'm a community engineer. And basically, I do like events that bring like the group of instructors to do things to like showcase their skills, whether that's workshops, Q&As, like any type of promo type things, talks. So there's always like a lot of events for our instructors to show their skills and link them up with the people who are members of the site who come to learn. And we try to create like better, learning materials based on the problems that people are having. So it's been a really fun experience. And while I don't like write code all day, I've shipped a few components on Egghead.io, but most of my work is community work.
Which is awesome. And I want to dig into more about Egghead, but I want to really touch base on your self-taught learning path. Like what sort of encompass being self-taught, and what were the sort of tools that you leveraged to get to where you are?
Self-taught was wild. It was probably the first time that I had to put together a curriculum for myself. So that was like, it was different. So I started on Udemy with the web development course by Coach Steele. It's kind of like the famous one. Almost everybody knows about that one. So I started there.
Actually, you said Code Steele?
Coach Steele.
Coat Steele.
Yeah, like Colt 45.
Oh, got it.
Yeah.
That's excuse the ignorance, because actually I'm pretty, I guess I learned how to code 8 years. That is awesome. Coat Steele. I've never actually heard of this guy, and that's his real name, Colt Steele.
Mm-hmm. I know, it's like the coolest name ever.
That's like Army Hammer. That's like that sort of level.
So yeah, I started with that course. So it teaches like full stack JavaScript, and back then it had like jQuery and stuff like that. But I didn't do the whole full stack part. So I wanted to be, I was like, well, instead of doing full stack, I was like, okay, I want to focus on the front end. So then I started learning React. I used Team Treehouse for that. Back when it was using classes, I hated it. Like I really like all the this.prop super constructor. I was like, what is this?
Yeah.
I wasn't a big fan of React back then, but hooks is great though. So yeah, then I did a course that I really, really like called Practical JavaScript, which was by Gordon Zhu. And it's, you basically build a to-do app, but like he teaches you everything instead of like going concepts. You would teach the thing right when you need it. So if you needed an object, instead of saying, here's an object, here's what it does, it's like, here's an object, let's put it into the app, but you wrote like 20 of them or something like that. Like it was quite a few. It was a different approach than I've seen with most courses. Definitely like one of my favorite. Then I started applying for jobs, and then, I started getting stressed out and just start, looking up, anything. Like I think I looked at Svelte, which I actually liked a lot.
Yeah. So what year
I was
was
like
this?
trying different things. This was all just like last year.
Oh.
2019.
Wow,
well, not 20, 2019. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I forgot we
but
switched
that's still
over.
pretty recent though. Yeah, that's pretty amazing, because like my introduction was which is how I originally saw your name, because your original handle used to be Ruby on Wheels.
Yeah.
My introduction was Ruby on Rails. So like, did you learn Ruby on Rails at the time?
No, actually, what happened with Rails is when I actually started working at Egghead, he was because that's what they use on their back end. They use Rails on the back end and React on the front. Now that we actually use Next.js on the front end,
Okay.
but at first it was a Rails API with a React on the front. So he was like, I would like for you to learn Rails when I had like first got the job, and I was like, sure. So that's where Rails came in at. It
Oh,
was
okay.
after
Wow.
I was already employed. Yeah.
Oh, okay. That's wild too. Because for whatever reason, I thought you in 2019 were learning Rails as your intro. But it seems like you're already into it, and which is nice that
Yeah.
they gave you the chance to sort of learn on the job and become decent or expert. I'm not sure where your Rails skills are at this point, but it's nice that you're able to learn it.
Yeah, I mean, I would say I'm decent. I do the thing where I like look at random code bases that I know are in Rails, like Dev 2. Be
Yeah.
like, can I figure out what's happening here? So that's kind of, and I can figure it out. It seems like so.
Yeah, that's awesome. So what was the you learned how to code in 2019. You did a bunch of courses, and thanks for sharing the links too as well. I'll drop those in the show notes for folks who are interested. And I think I've dropped at least one of them in the chat already. But the introduction to Egghead, like how did that sort of come to being?
That was so me and the co-founder of Egghead, Joel Hooks, we met on Twitter. I'm not exactly sure how. It was like in the Slack group. Someone was like, someone else said that was doing a boot camp in the Slack group was like, hey, should I learn React or Vue if I'm trying to get a job? And somebody was like, learn React. And then they linked a whole bunch of Egghead courses. I didn't know like I didn't know what Egghead was at the time. This is when I was still learning. And I looked up Egghead. Then somehow I don't know if I came across a podcast. I came across the founder. I found that, he had 5 kids. I had 6. He learned how to code in his like mid 30s. I was 33 at the time. And I was like, dang, this seemed like, exactly what I'm trying to do. So I remember like, I don't know what I said to him on Twitter or what, I don't remember what happened, but we ended up following each other on Twitter.
Okay.
And then I would like post every day what I was learning on Twitter, like the courses I was taking, any like, small projects I was building, and anything like that. So we like, interacted back and forth a couple times. But kind of like the big thing that happened is that I had just went on this interview, and, I had someone like write me a letter of recommendation. I had like 2 people on the inside of the company, like vouch for me. And I ended up not getting the job. They were just like, oh, you don't have any experience, which is still crazy to me, because like I found out that job, like don't even use frameworks. It's like HTML, CSS, and vanilla JavaScript.
Yeah.
And I was like, I could have did that. Like, that's how I felt. Like I really could have did that. Like
Yeah.
I didn't need experience, in my opinion. So anyway.
Actually, can I ask a hard question though? Do you think that they that was more of like an excuse that they wanted to give you?
No, but I mean, you're right about that, though. It's really it was just, there's a certain way things go and they didn't really want to break that, which I understand. But yeah, so after that, I tweeted my frustration. I wasn't like, super mad or anything, but I was just like, I've been through a lot. I'm working hard. I feel like I'm ready. And then he ended up giving some advice. He was like, you should blog, and stuff like that. Like do some other thing, like besides Twitter, do some other things to kind of, get yourself out there. So then I started like writing blog posts about, stuff I was learning in JavaScript. And then I ended up meeting like more people that way. And this was so maybe like 6 months later, after like another few other conversations that we had, he asked me to like work for them part time to review their courses. And after that, for doing a couple of weeks, he basically asked me, would I like to come on full time as an employee? So I was, of course, I said yeah, because here I am.
Yeah, that is amazing too as well, and it really comes down to something I wanted to also bring up too as well, which is the book you put together, which is using Twitter to break into tech. Do you want to talk a bit about that sort of concept, and also like what sort of pushed you to write the book?
Sure. Yeah, so I wrote that book for a lot of different reasons. Like one of the reasons is that people always ask me, and just to give you some background, I've always used Twitter for like networking and stuff. Like back in the day, like I don't know, man, I'm old, but I just realized my son is 15. And I'm like, this is before he was born. So that was like a really long time ago. Anyway, I used to like use, I was in a dance group, right? But thing is like, that was like, it wasn't a thing. It was like, either people were like rappers or singers or like the local like artists and stuff. So it was like a dance group. People would always be like, y'all just dance. Like, that's what they always like. That's it. Like, y'all don't sing. Y'all don't just dance. Right. So I use like social media, like Twitter and Facebook then to like show people what we did. I didn't want to explain it anymore. I didn't want to say like, hey, we can, sell out a show or whatever. So we would just showcase it on Facebook and Twitter. And then we would let the people commenting and stuff like that kind of speak for it themselves. So doing that 15 years ago showed me the power of social media, because I was able to open up for like when Pretty Ricky was popular and Pleasure P, we opened up for like 112 and stuff like that.
You're starting to date yourself. I'm trying to figure out how old you are.
I'm 35.
Nice.
It doesn't feel like this was 15 years ago though. I still feel young.
Yeah. I mean, you're actually only 1 year older than I am, so yeah,
Oh,
we're not
okay.
too far off. Except, I mean, I used to dance, but I wasn't like in a crew or anything like that. So please don't ask me to do. Well, actually, I'll do the Dougie for people, but you got to subscribe for that.
That was actually one of my favorite dances when it was hot.
Yeah. I mean, well, you're in Kansas City, so I mean, that's like just down the street. Well, a couple hours.
So that got me into the power of like using social media to, network and make connections and, do things that were exciting to me. So since people would always ask me, and I really couldn't, in a conversation, I couldn't really distill everything like the mindset behind it and stuff like that. So that's why I went to using, that's why I decided to like write the book. I took all that stuff I've learned from back when I had the dance group, from also in the middle of that, I had like a YouTube channel I was doing. I was doing like NBA 2K tutorials, and I used like Twitter to I ended up getting like cool with the developers of like NBA Live and stuff like
Really?
that.
Wow.
Where like they sent me like I like ended up being featured on the NBA Live website, and then I like got
what year was this?
This was, I don't know, 2017, I think.
Okay, that's pretty recent. And that's interesting because you got a very similar story to Nick DeJesus too as well, which I know you know. Because he came through the Tekken world, playing competitive Tekken. Yeah, that's awesome. So it sounds like the correlation of, because it's funny, I know we talked about this last week in our conversation because we had a meeting, and I pitched you on coming on to talk here. It's all about the hustle. And I think when you know how to hustle, and Andre, he's actually in the chat saying that he used to work 112 Records as well. Well, not as well, but that's what he used to do. The cool thing about that is like you just know how to get your stuff out in front of people, and like if your stuff is your mixtape, if it's your dance crew, or if it's just getting your resume, like you got to be able to hustle and like put yourself out there and be found. Because like when I talked about having no certificate, like you can't just say, oh, I know Ruby on Rails, or I know Next or React, I can get this job. Unfortunately, like very much unfortunately, like that's not enough to cut it. Like it also has to be like, hey, and this is really unfortunate. It's can this person, would I hang out with this person? Which is like a horrible interview question, but that is the truth. That's how people are interviewing. Like, hey, will this be a team that our team member that we're like, we can go get drinks with or go play basketball with? And not everybody plays basketball, and that sort of cuts out everybody who doesn't have that accessible to them. But I would love for the world to change, and I would love to be part of that change to and bring more people in. But I just want to say this because I think knowing is half the battle. So there it is.
Yeah, knowing how the game is played is very important. Then I kind of think about it. Well, first it's to finish the first thing, but the book. Yeah. So all that stuff I learned from using that and getting like connections and making cool stuff happen. I was like, let me turn this into a book so it can scale and other people can, learn about all this stuff and use it for themselves. So that was the motivation behind the book.
Got it.
And then for the, I'm saying like playing the game, I like to think about it to the Matrix, right? Like when you first in the Matrix, you don't even know what's going on. You just in there. You living, right? But then when Neo realized he was in the Matrix, right?
Yep.
He became powerful and he bended it to his rules, so that's the kind of like mentality I take. Like if you know how the game is played, you know how the Matrix works, you can use it to your advantage and then use it to help other people, like Morpheus did, right? He didn't take all this knowledge that I can fly and stop bullets and dodge bullets and all. He didn't keep it to himself. He let other people reap the benefits. So that's kind of, so even though you might not like the way the game is played, you can use it to your advantage and help other people as well. So day to day, mainly now, it's planning events. So like we're going to start doing like introductory workshops on like different like frameworks and developer tools. And they're going to be free. So just for people to like an hour and a half just to learn, something they haven't played with before, get a chance to learn it by someone who works with it all the time.
Yeah.
And then we have like the Egghead talks. This year we've been kind of like more career focused. So talks about like, how to stand out in interviews, how to, do like certain technical things in interviews and things like that. So mainly like most of it is like planning events and just, linking with people and seeing what people are doing, cool stuff, reaching out to them and see if they want to, come with Egghead and present it to our community. Kind of like, how I reached out to you about the GitHub actions,
Yep.
There's maybe 5 videos on Egghead total on GitHub actions. So it'd be good to bring in someone who's well versed in it to, teach it and for the people who's interested in it.
Yeah. I'm honored.
And then another thing that we're doing is that we really liked it was funny thing. We talked about this. We was like, okay, we're bringing school back. So, basically we're a bunch of people learning the same thing in the same order, at school. So we're doing like learning based cohorts, but they're going to be like building projects. Like, so right now we're working on one that's like a SaaS product that people are building. And it's like, we're giving them the layout, right? So they can use whatever tools they're comfortable with, but we're giving them like the layout of, how it should look and what should be the outcome. We're going to start doing those a lot more this year too. Right now it's kind of like private, kind of within our like, little circle that we know to like do our little test runs. But eventually like to open up to more people and let people do it self-paced, and people can come out, with some new skills learned and a project they can show, whether that's for, a portfolio. If they're trying to get a job, they're trying to get a better job. It's going to come out with things that they can tangibly show that I've learned this thing and I'm not just saying I know it.
Awesome. Yeah. I'm looking forward to that. And honestly, I mentioned this to you as well last week, but I haven't been active on my Egghead account. So I'm looking forward to getting part with this workshop stuff, but also pointing people to there. Because I think that's just having the knowledge. Because I get people all the time asking me how did I get started? What's really good tutorials, screencasts. I'm just like, it's been a while since I've been a beginner. At least when it comes to like React and stuff like that. That's the other thing is like, when you've been doing it so long and like you saw the beginning of React, it's hard to know like what's the best way to teach hooks. So I love that having having these lists and the tools, and also Egghead. What Egghead is doing is it's awesome, and I've seen that company grow to where it is today, from the beginning of this getting random people in the JavaScript world to the ship a course. But yeah, I appreciate you sharing that knowledge and sharing your background knowledge. The only thing I didn't ask you is what were you doing before you started learning how to program, and what was sort of the catalyst to even learn code?
Sure. So before then, I was either doing like call center or factory jobs, and it was a lot of reasons that I kind of built up to it. Like, for example, like I was working at a call center that I really, really liked. It was a company that I really, really liked and always wanted to work for. And my plan was to like move up to be like the team manager. I heard they made like $90K a year. And I was like, oh my God, I want $90K. This is back when I had, just 2 kids. Even $90K probably wouldn't be enough these days. But it was like that, but they ended up getting bought by another company. I ended up getting laid off with like only like $3,000 severance, which is, I guess, better than nothing.
Yeah.
And then I worked then I went to like a factory job. It's like, I had a family, I needed a job. That place was super on and off. They would, not have product, have product. So I was like, not work, but only get paid like, $200 a week because, unemployment and stuff like that. So then I ended up leaving. Actually, before I left that place, they was like, besides not working and not paying well, they were just bad people. Like, they treated you bad. I didn't have any insurance. I was there for like 3 years and like never missed a day. And I remember I had asked, because my daughter was like a super daddy's girl. And she was like, she was in kindergarten, her first kindergarten in school. She was like, Dad, can you bring me some cupcakes for my birthday on Friday? Right. So I had asked my supervisor, like, on Monday, I was like, hey, can I get off on Friday, this one time to go, celebrate my daughter's birthday at her school. And he literally like laughed in my face, like audibly. He was like, he's like, you're a temp, and then walked away. And so I was like, yeah. And I was like, what am I doing? Like, it just really hit me like, what am I doing here? I'm 30 years old, getting treated like this. I can't even get one day off to go see my daughter. Like, what am I doing? So then I just started, and plus a bunch of other stuff like that. So I just started looking like, what can I do? What makes money? What's going to help me be able to take care of my family? What isn't going to, treat me like complete garbage, right? So I tried a lot of different things. My first goal was to work for myself. So I started a cleaning business. Then I did that YouTube channel. Me and my wife, we were like selling t-shirts on Shopify. So we was like grinding, like, we got to find a way. And then randomly I was on a hip hop forum. And then one of the forum posts was like, hey, is everyone taking advantage of this Udemy sale? I had never heard of Udemy before.
On a hip hop forum.
Looked, yeah, I know. Like,
okay.
So I clicked. I don't even know why I clicked on it, because I don't even know what Udemy was back then. So I clicked on Udemy, and I seen everybody buying this course called the Code Steel Web Development course. Like, they was like, oh, I just got this. I just got this. I just caught this. I was like, man, what is this stuff? So I looked up, web development. I seen the salaries, and and I was like, oh, they work from home, and all this like stuff that I wanted. So I was like, well, I'm a learn this, right? And even then, it took me like, from the day I bought it, I'm not gonna lie, it took me like 3 months to actually start the course, because I was so intimidated about programming computers. So it took me like 3 months to actually take it. Then I started. And it was rough. HTML and CSS wasn't that bad, but once I got the JavaScript, I was like, dang, this stuff is kind of hard.
Any last words you want to share? Any advice you want to share with the audience that's with us?
Sure. I'd say the main thing is, when you're trying to do something, there's this saying that I got from Eric Thomas, like, where your focus goes is where your energy flows. Is when you come like super focused on something and you put work into it, it'll just start radiating off of you, and people want to, be a part of it and, help you along the way. So if you're trying to do something, get somewhere, just really put a lot of attention and focus on it. And weirdly enough, people will start to help you. I've had so many people reach out to me that I didn't ask them for anything, or they just wanted to be a part of seeing me get to where I feel like I should be. So, and I've seen it happen for other people as well. So I know that sounds like super duper vague, and it feels super duper vague, but it really does happen. Like, you just start giving off energy that people want to be a part of. So I know it's hard. I know we have doubt and things like that, but put that focus and intention, and you'll reap the rewards. I've seen it too many times.